The following presentation is brought to you by kmmedia.pro. Please visit kmmedia.pro for more information. Now stay right where you are as we present Welcome to Positive Talk Radio, evolving ideas one conversation at a time. Great guests, dynamic stories and interviews, plus new thoughts on a wide range of topics and concepts. I hope that you'll hang with me, Kevin McDonald, my friends, and of course, you. As together we work to understand why we are all here and what we can do to make our world a better place for all of us. To be happy, be kind, and live in peace together. Yep, that's Positive Talk Radio. Episode of Positive Talk Radio. Two of my favorite people are here, and they're dynamic individuals, and they both are in the health and wellness field. And Alyssa and Kayla, and they are, first of all, they're fast and fabulous friends from a long time ago. And Kayla is an actress of sorts and is doing stuff like that, and Alyssa is a holistic healer and does that kind of work. Am I correct? Have I represented that correctly?
I actually am mostly a coach at this point. I am no longer acting. I'm pet sitting, and I am an intuitive human design coach.
That is amazing to me that you are going from house to house, petting, sitting for pets, and saying when people go on vacation and stuff. That's really cool. How did you find the numbers of people it takes to be able to do that and then move from place to place?
Initially, we found a site called Trusted House Sitters, and it's a trade. So we don't pay for housing. They don't pay for pet sitting. And now my partner and I have gotten really good at it, and we really love working with the animals. And so we are starting our own business now, and we have a few contacts that we're already working with. So a lot of it is just word of mouth. And so far, tonight is the first time in 3 months that we've had to book an Airbnb outside of the houses that we've sat. So it's been working pretty well so far.
Well, good for you. Good for you. It takes a lot of intestinal fortitude to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Well, the places she's living too are gorgeous a lot of the time. Like I'll talk to her and she's living in like one paradise after another.
It's been very cool. It was definitely because the housing market is so insane in California right now. So when I was looking for how to rent, it was like, I'm starting a new business. Like, I'm building from the ground up. I want to create this wellness empire that Alyssa and I are both at the ground floor of creating something amazing. And I know that I need to put all of my time toward that. So the idea of needing to pay $3,000 a month for rent was like, okay, this is not important for me to be spending my money on right now.
Did you say $3,000 a month?
Yeah. Finding a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment in San Diego, California, $3,000 a month. That was like low. So we found another way. We found another way, and we're living in beautiful places, and the people we've worked with are awesome, and the animals are amazing. So I like it.
So do you have to, do clean up after yourselves and all that kind of stuff too?
Yeah, so we do. And actually, I think that's one of the reasons why we decided we want to turn this into a business, because we are, we like to leave a house nicer than we found it, because why not? I hate the worst thing ever is going on vacation and then coming home to the dirty house that you left when you were rushing out of the house. So we really love being able to give people a nice, clean house with happy animals. So when they get home, they don't have to worry about any of I have to clean up and make the beds and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, we provide a very good service.
If I ever leave my house, which is not likely, but if I ever did, I would have you come and sit my non-existent pet, so that you could leave my house cleaner than you found it.
Perfect. That works for us.
And you're in San Diego, and Alyssa, where are you? You're still back east, right?
I'm in West Hartford, Connecticut. So Kayla's from New York, which isn't far from where I am. I'm from St. Louis, actually, originally, but I am here in Connecticut. This is my home. Yep, and I'm health coaching.
Very, very nice. You know, I visited St. Louis one time. It is the most surreal experience I've ever encountered. And that is, you know, you have the Peace Arch there.
Mm-hmm.
If you go 2 or 3 blocks outside of the Peace Arch, you'll come into contact with rows upon rows of houses that have been condemned.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole downtown area is and so what has happened is people have moved to the suburbs around, unless it's changed. It could have changed in the last 20 years.
Nope, I grew up in the suburbs of St. Louis. It's like a city of suburbs.
Yes, and
Yeah.
nobody wants to go downtown unless you go to the Peace Arch or the stadium, which is right there.
Right, the Cardinal Stadium. That's right.
And but if you go take a wrong turn, then you are in a place where there's a lot of devastation and stuff. So it was a really unusual place to go visit, especially since I'm from Seattle, and nothing is that old that in Seattle as there is in St. Louis. So but I'm glad you're where you are today, and we're going to talk about something really cool that you guys have worked on and have developed. And so, which one of you wants to kind of lead off the discussion a little bit?
So we didn't develop it, by the way.
No.
But you become very adept at it.
Yeah,
you understand.
Yeah.
So we're human design coaches. So we both have sort of different coaching styles and things that we do, but both of us look at unique charts that people have. We're all born differently, and our energy is all designed differently. So Kayla and I have the special ability to read charts and tell people how their energy presents so that they can operate within their design, how they're meant to live. So Kayla, I think, is going to give a little history on it. So
I can. Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about human design. So human design actually, and I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but it was a divine download. So this happened in 1987 when I have recently spoken to a lot of people who said that there was a lot of like intense parenting advice coming up around that time. And human design was actually originally utilized to help you to parent the child that you have rather than the way you think you're supposed to be parenting. Because what human design does is gives you an energetic blueprint of the way that you show up in the world. So it's actually a combination. When I say it was a divine download, literally a man was living off grid for a while. He decided he wanted to go live off grid, and he was off the coast of Ibiza in a little cabin with no electricity. And he came back one day and there was a light on in his cabin. And of course, he knew he hadn't left an oil lamp on. So he goes in, and his spirit guides were sitting around and said to him, "Get to work." And he started writing, and he wrote for 8 days and 8 nights and created human design as we now know it. And human design is literally a combination of ancient and modern ideologies. So we have astrology, we have the Chinese I Ching, we have bits of the Kabbalah, the chakra system, all coming together with quantum physics and genetics. So you're really getting like a full picture based on all of the knowledge that we as humans have of how our energy shows up. So what we're going to talk about today are actually those chakra spaces, because in human design, we have a breakdown in the same way that there's a breakdown in the chakras, but it's a little different. I think Alyssa's going to touch on that a little bit for us.
Yeah, so go ahead and pull up Kevin's chart, Kayla. So we got your chart, Kevin, so people can see what we're talking about. Sometimes human design is sort of like gibberish. So if you can see it, you can start to understand it a little bit better.
And we've talked about my chart before, so I'm actually pretty proud of my chart.
Everybody's design is beautiful, and we all should be proud of our unique charts.
And I just want to hold on. Let me bring that up here. Let me add that to the stream, and there we are. And I just want to add to this that when you're looking at the chart itself and the concept, it is so new that a lot of people are like, yeah, this is what they say, but we haven't verified a lot of it and all that kind of stuff. But it makes perfect sense to me because it's all based on energy anyway.
Yeah. I always find it so interesting when people try to prove or disprove energetic information, because the whole point here is that this is what we feel. It's amazing that this is a chart that can really help us to understand how our energy shows up. But what it really comes down to is that your chart is only going to be helpful to you if it resonates with you and if you are feeling the things that are happening in the chart. So you can use it to help, but there's no proving or disproving, and everyone is going to view their chart and the way that they show up differently. So
yeah. Good. So by the way, that body shape, I don't want to, that's kind of portly fella. I think I qualify for that.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, let's get started. Okay. So we're focusing specifically on the chakras today. So those are the different shapes in this graph. So you will see triangles, squares, diamonds of different sizes. These are associated with the chakras. And some are colored in. Kevin has one that is white. Okay, this is an unusual chart. Most people have more diversity of white and colored in centers. Also, doesn't matter what the colors are, brown, green, yellow, pink. If it is colored in, it is defined. And this means that you are taking in information and processing it and projecting it in a consistent way. So if you have defined centers, which Kevin, you have many defined centers, you are operating like a radio transmitter in these centers. You are giving off consistent energy designed to condition other people in these areas. So for example, you have two defined mind centers, the crown and the ajna. So you have a very specific way of getting inspiration and thinking about information and having an opinion to share with the world. Whereas people who have these open, they're designed to be more open-minded to take in a wider range of perspectives. So we're going to go into the details of this. And just so you know, you might see, well, you'll definitely see if you're looking at this, little red circles. These are your gates, and then you'll see little red lines and black lines coming off of these gates. These are your, if they're from one center to another, these are your channels. And these represent like the unique flavor that you give off in these centers. And so if it's white, where Kevin, you have one center that is completely undefined, this means you are designed to be an empath in these areas. You are receiving information from other people and taking it in. And these centers can be really confusing for people because you might be taking in somebody else's energy and it might not feel good, right? But you don't know sometimes that you're taking in somebody else's energy. So you might think it's like a shortcoming of who you are. And this is not the case. So this is what Kayla and I try to do with our clients is let them know, where they're generating consistent energy so they can go use their gifts in the world, and where they are receiving other people's energy so they can start to differentiate what's theirs, what isn't, what's healthy, what's not. Does that make sense?
And that does make sense. But let's pretend that I'm a client and you just did this so we can go through it in a meaningful way so that people can understand how the process works and how each individual, because we're all energy and we're all vibrating, but we all vibrate a little bit differently than each other. And so each thing is unique to an individual. Is it kind of like a fingerprint?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. While it's very specific to each individual person, and it's based specifically on the time that you were born. So as if you're looking at the chart, there are two lines. You see the line of red and the line of black things there. The numbers in there are the gates. So like Alyssa was mentioning, all of those little red circles, if you look at those little red circle numbers, they will match up with all of the gates that are listed on the side. And these gates come from two different times. So the first one, the right side, the black, those are your conscious gates. And those are places where you understand certain types of energy based on the day that you were born. So you'll notice those are all astrological signs. That's literally the astrology from the day that you were born. Then the numbers on the left side are actually the day 3 months before you were born, when your soul entered your body. So these are considered your unconscious traits. And these are things that are more underlying. These are the kinds of things that might be holding you back, or that you might begin to understand later in life. So the chart itself is made up of these two different locations in time. So the moment you were born and the moment your soul entered your body. So every person has a very specific design.
I want to highlight that part if I can.
Yeah.
Because there is and I know you know about this, there is a huge debate in this country going on about when life begins. Does life begin at conception? Does life begin a little bit after that? When does the soul enter the body, and that sort of thing? Everything that I've ever read from people that, hypnotherapists and people that have done near-death experiences and stuff, they'll all tell me that your body, your brain, or your soul enters the body at like 3 months before you're born, because prior to that, there's nothing that they can do with it. And so there's no point in going there, because it's still in formation, and the brain and things are not formatted enough for you to actually work with it. Is that kind of how when you say 3 months before they're born, is that kind of what, when he was getting his download, is that the information that he was receiving?
I do believe so. Yeah. I think that it's not a coincidence that so many different spiritual leaders have come to the same conclusion. And in human design, that is how we run the chart. And the fact that these charts speak so intensely to the people who I read them to the people who Alyssa reads them to, and to us. I mean, I've been using my human design, and it's changed everything about the way that I live my life. I think that we can suffice to say that this makes sense. I actually want to pimp Alyssa out a little bit to talk, because I always talk about how she discussed with me feeling her son becoming a part of her design right around that point.
Yeah, so I can talk about that. So this, Kevin, you have the undefined self-center. I have that as well. And when about 6 months into my pregnancy with my son, I started realizing that I wanted to leave my husband. I started realizing that my identity didn't really match with his. Not to say that there was anything wrong with him. It was just that I started realizing I didn't align with him. And later on, when I saw Max's chart, together we form a defined self-center or identity center. So I was able to make that distinguishment, I guess. So that was a really profound time for me. So it does make a lot of sense too, based on that experience for me.
So now, if you look at the red parts, which is on the left-hand side, is that kind of part of the contract that my soul came into my body with from the other side, that was what I was looking and hoping to achieve in this life?
It's both of those sides, yes. But the red line, they might be a little more unconscious, and you might be unaware of those gifts. And also, I want to say too, with human design, you can be living in the low vibration of your design or the high vibration of your design. So, your energy, just because this is your chart, it doesn't mean that your energy presents in a consistent way. Depending on how you use your energy, how you respond to your environment around you, you're either going to be high vibe or low vibe. You're either going to have a lot of energy or not a lot of energy.
And
I also want
Go
to
ahead.
I want to piggyback on that, because I had someone ask me once, so what if you were born on the same day at the same time in the same hospital? Are you going to be exactly the same? And this is where I actually bring the discussion of epigenetics into here, because the way that we are raised and the way that we learn to represent our energy in that higher or that lower vibration is going to dictate the way that we use that energy. So even if you have the exact same design as somebody else, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have the same personality or even be interested in the same things. All it means is that you have the same propensity for a certain kind of energy, and you get to choose how you use all of those different kinds of energies.
You also have your magnetic monopole too in your self center, which is drawing you towards what you're meant to do, which is different than what somebody who might have a very similar or the exact same design as you. We actually know my mom and her best friend have almost very similar designs. They were born a day apart. But what's cool is because they're so similar, they have a lot of friendship energy. They're able to understand each other better because they share a lot of the same gates and channels.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, is it possible then, since they were born a day apart, is it possible then that that's all by design from the other side, that they were actually soulmates or soul friends on the other side, and they
Yeah.
came in at the same time
Oh,
to
yeah.
Yeah, they have a soul contract.
Yeah. Oh,
Gotcha.
100%. Yeah. And it's very interesting, because when you start looking up charts, you begin to find that just because two people were born a day apart doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have similar charts. I have one experience. My partner, I didn't know what time he was born for the longest time when I first got into human design. And of course, all I wanted to do was look up his chart. And
Of
I'm
course.
trying to look up his chart, and I'm like, oh my God. And I finally, and I'm looking all times of day. I looked at midnight, I looked at midday, I looked at 11:15. Only did his chart change like a little bit, his type, which is like the overarching part of human design. There are 5 types in human design, and a lot of times people will overgeneralize, and I don't like to discuss in type, but his type literally changed 4 times throughout the day. So there was absolutely no way for me to know what his design was. And I finally found out, and I was very happy to discover, and it was beautiful moment for me. But it's very interesting how much a chart can change just through those 24 hours. So someone who had been born, 2 hours before him would be a totally different type than he is.
That's interesting. So when we're talking about when you're born, it's all um by design. So even up to the moment that you're born, and is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
100% believe that.
So for people who are on and want to look at their charts, by the way, they can go to freehumandesignchart.com or jovianarchive.com. And it's important when you fill out your birth information to get the time exactly right. Otherwise, it's not your chart. It's not your design.
Yeah.
Right. And if you don't know your exact birth time, like this was the case with my mom, I did some like intuitive work on it to figure out like what the time she was born. And you can, like, Kayla and I, we went over her chart together, and Kayla at the time, like, she was way further along in human design than I was, right? And she was asking me questions to try and deduce, is this like your mom? Is this like your mom? Right? And I would say yes or no. And so we figured out the time. But so there are ways to figure it out.
Okay, so if you look at my chart,
Yeah.
which is up on the screen, if everybody, and we're using it as an example, what does that chart tell you of who I am?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about it today from the chakra perspective, right? So we're going to look at the different energy centers, starting with the root center. So I will start with your root center. The root center is the brown square all the way at the bottom, and this is the center where you have the pressure to do and to take action, and it's associated with your adrenal system. So if you are using this center incorrectly, you're going to have adrenal fatigue. Okay. Because you are defined, Kevin, you have a consistent pressure to move things forward and take action. You have a consistent way of dealing with stress. Okay. And when you're in the high vibration, you're calm and grounded in stressful situations. You work very well under pressure. You have a consistent way of getting things done and dealing with stress. These people, I also have a defined root, by the way, and I think Kayla does too, right?
I do. Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Very
So-
grounded, this group.
So so we're very good at dealing with stress when we're in the high vibe, right?
Yeah.
But one thing about people with this center defined is that they are very good procrastinators, because we know like when it is time to do the thing we need to do. We don't sit and stress about it all week. You know, we can get, if we have a paper due the night before, we can sit down and bang out that paper and get it done, because we have a consistent way of dealing with that pressure. So Kayla is going to talk about what that looks like for people who do not have the center defined.
Well, and I
Yeah.
want to just add here that I sometimes cause people to be infuriated with me because they think I'm procrastinating, but I'm just waiting for the right time. And
Right.
and you know, it makes perfect sense to me.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think a lot of times people who have this center undefined as well, because so as we discussed before, undefined means that this is an area where you absorb energy from other people, amplify it, and reflect it back. You become like a human mirror. So when other people who have undefined root centers, when you come at them with, I'm going to have this done when I have it done, that's not a thing that they have any concept of being able to understand. So
boy,
they just have to blindly trust, and they could, feel into their root to understand your root center and learn to trust you. But trust, of course, is something that takes time. But one thing that's interesting that I found about people who have undefined root centers is that more often than not, when I work with couples, the people who have undefined root centers will find a partner who has a defined root center. I think there's something very primal and very necessary about having and in just about any situation, the concept of having that grounded factor and being able to thrive under pressure, being able to function in the places where, it's that, if you've ever worked in a restaurant, they would say it's the swan. When you're on the top of the water, you're gliding, but the feet underneath are paddling. That's what they always said when I was waitressing. It was like, you have to be a swan because your mind has to be doing 17 different things at once, and you have to be calm the whole time. So that energy is very important for the survival of the collective. So I find that a lot of times those who have an undefined root will find someone with that definition so they can feel more grounded.
So it really is important. If you're going to be in the restaurant business, you should, because you're right. You have to be going 100 miles an hour and not look like it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And I think the thing that that happens a lot. Shoot. I'm sorry. My screen had a fit. The thing that happens a lot with this, and as Alyssa was mentioning, the adrenals are connected to this. So when you find yourself pushing too hard, when you begin to overuse the energy that you create in this space, that's when that adrenal fatigue comes in. That's when so for people with this center defined, it becomes a matter of overuse, of doing it using it too much. Whereas people who have undefined root centers, they experience adrenal fatigue when they try to utilize this energy that they don't create, when they try to force themselves to meet deadlines, to, try to keep up with others when they're not meant to. People with undefined root centers are often meant to do things in their own time when they feel like it.
It can be very infuriating to some people. I wanted to mention too that there are numbers in that. Are those numbers particular to any reference to an individual?
Yes. Yeah. So those are gates. So you have a channel. It's so small that I can't read it, but I actually have the channel right next to it, which is
I think he has the 52-9.
52-9.
Yeah.
I think 52 is the gate of stillness, actually. So the gate of stillness is like you have this gift that when you do feel pressure, you're able to be still and really focus on what needs to be focused on. And when you utilize that gift, that energy is really beautiful around other people, and other people are able to harness that energy of being still and focused and doing what you need to do. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I don't have the gate of stillness, so that's not something that I resonate with. But somebody with the defined root center, I have the gate of acceptance right next to it, which is gate 60. And with this, I'm able to transcend limitations. Is what that gate is. I'm able to find the drive to transcend limitations, but also to accept those times of pause where nothing can be done. So that's my specific gift within that root chakra.
This is just fascinating to me because when you look at it, when you look at the energy of how we present ourselves, and it's so good. I mean, it's so true. It really is. And it's almost like you can look inside of a person that is now, keeping in mind that if it's low vibration or high vibration. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. When you're talking about that, do we always operate at the same vibrational level, or can it switch back and forth so that when you're in the low vibrational level, you can be one way, and then if you're in the high vibrational level, you can be something else?
Yes, absolutely.
I hate that because when I drive, I'm in the low vibrational level. That's
Yes, absolutely. So I can resonate with that too. When you drive with somebody with the defined root, you're holding everyone else to the same standard that you hold yourself to.
I hate that.
Yes, and that's not realistic. That's low vibration, right?
Yes.
Right. and then when I pass them, I have to look at them to see what they look like. I don't know.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. Well, I knew that was, So.
But the beauty, Kevin, of knowing that this is your design is now you can look at the people in the car next to you with way more compassion, right? Yep. And know that they don't have a defined root center like me, probably. So I'm just gonna cut them some slack.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's all in my head. I mean, because
that too. You're creating that just for yourself.
Yeah, when you're driving, you're thinking all these things that they could be thinking if they cut you off or they did whatever they do, or they're speeding or whatever, and they don't care. They don't even know a lot of times what story you're making up in your head. So I will work to operate at a higher level when I'm driving, and not.
Beautiful. All right, so you ready to move on to the next center, Kevin?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so next we're going to talk about the Sacral Center, which is this pink square in the middle right above the root. And so this is where we experience life force energy. Our sexuality is here. Our creativity is here. About 66% of the population has this defined. And if you do have it defined, you're either a manifesting generator like me and you, Kevin, or a generator. Kayla is a projector, so she has this undefined. And when you have this defined, you create your own energy to fuel each day. And when you're doing what you love, when something comes into your field and you respond to it with a yes, you will always generate consistent energy to do that thing. If you don't love the thing that comes into your field and you get a no response in your sacral area, it's like a gut feeling, that's a sign you shouldn't be doing it. Right? So high vibe, you're using your creativity to do what you love.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because, and I know you guys know, but there are people that maybe this is the first time they're listening to Positive Talk Radio. I do 8 to 10 of these a week, and a lot of people would say that's a lot, dude. But I love it, and so it's easy for it. It is easy for me because I'm in the flow of it.
Absolutely. Yep. That's
100%.
you. Yeah. Yep. For me, that's health coaching. When I'm doing my health coaching work, I am on such a high, right? But even when I'm studying human design, it's a yes. Right now, I'm getting into feng shui. When I'm learning about feng shui and designing my house, it's like, oh, yes, right? And it's a sign that you should keep doing it. But for the longest time, like when I was like doing the stay-at-home mom thing, I was so miserable, and I was doing it because I thought I should do it. And this is what so many people experience. We're conditioned to do what we think that we should. When human design says actually, no.
No.
If you're a generator, a manifesting generator, if your response is a no, you shouldn't be doing it. You are not living your design.
Well, and you should, and from what I know about you, you should not be a housewife.
No.
Sitting at home eating bonbons and spaghetti. You should not be doing that. You need to be out in the world. You need
Those
to
would make me so ill. Those are definite no.
No, definite no.
No, you need to be out in the world. That's it's clear to me because you can have a strong impact in the world.
Yes, but some people are really gifted at being around children all day. And that's amazing. You know,
that's a beautiful thing.
Right? As long as you're doing what gives you beautiful, juicy life force energy, and that's what you want to do, because that's the kind of energy you give to the world. And that's really feeding the world. When you are like more like a martyr and sacrificing yourself for something that you don't really want to do, that's not good energy.
Yeah, that's definitely living in that low vibration.
Yeah.
And it ends up it doesn't do anybody any good because you're leading your best life, and the people around you recognize that as well.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Kayla's going to talk about the undefined too.
Yeah. So that actually brings me right into the conversation about having an undefined sacral. Because with a defined sacral, as Alyssa said, you are the people who create in the world. You are the people who are bringing things to the world. And the majority of people do have defined sacral centers. So those of us who don't have defined sacral centers, we are here to guide those who have defined sacral centers. Because the thing that happens, as Alyssa mentioned earlier, is when you have an undefined center, these are the places where you can feel empathy. These are the places where you can literally feel into what another person is experiencing and help them to organize. So if I, as a person with an undefined sacral center, am having a conversation with someone who has a defined sacral center about, say, their human design, I am going to be able to understand the way that their life force moves in a very objective way. So it's kind of, as a projector, I am a projector, and projectors are considered the wise guides of humanity because we literally have the ability to see people in a way that they cannot see themselves. So with that undefined sacral center, I can understand what you are struggling with, what you're working with, the way your creativity works without you having to say anything. The downside to having an undefined sacral center is that I literally do not create sustainable working energy. So projectors and manifestors and reflectors, specifically reflectors and projectors deal with this more so than manifestors, but manifestors also do need a lot of rest. We are not designed to wake up early in the morning, go do the thing that makes us feel good and work all day long and then go home and go to sleep. We need a lot of downtime. We need a lot of rejuvenation time. And the ideal work week for a projector is to have like, you know, maybe 3 to 5 hours of work a day for like 4 days a week at the most. And then to be able to have rejuvenation time throughout, because since we don't provide our own energy, we need to make sure that we are replenishing so that we can show up and be in that high vibration of our ability to help others understand themselves. Because if I show up to a session exhausted, then I'm not actually going to be able to feel what you need. So nobody's going to get anything good out of it.
I'm not sure you could go to your employer and say, you know, I just not feeling it. I need to work 3 to 5 hours a day and stuff like that. You know,
I would beg to offer that this is why a lot of times projectors do not do well in the 9 to 5 atmosphere.
I work with a lot of projectors,
Yeah.
and when I tell them that they're a projector and what that means, a lot of them are like, "Oh my God, you're right." You know, and it's like it creates so much new awareness because this is such a small set of the population. The majority of the population are generators and manifesting generators who have a lot of energy, who generate, you know, that consistent life force energy, and they look around them, they look at their husbands and their coworkers and be like, why can't I do that?
Yep.
And then they feel like it's their own shortcoming.
And that's one of the big things that happens. And it's interesting because I actually grew up in a household with my mom is a projector and my one sister is also a projector. But even still, my father's a generator and my youngest sister is a manifesting generator. And I think because my father is a generator, we all grew up understanding that we need to work hard in order to accomplish. Work hard in order to accomplish. And as a projector, it's not about working hard. It's about working smart. It is about using the time that I have, the energy that I do have, wisely. So spending so much of my time feeling like I had to hustle in order to accomplish, really, I experienced some serious burnout for a very long time. I was living in New York City and it was too much.
I imagine that would drain your energy and drive you down and make you less efficient because you were drained all the time.
Yeah.
And burned.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing too. So a lot of projectors will get down when they realize that they're only designed to work 3 hours a day, but that's 3 hours of output. You can work 8 hours a day, but just make sure 5 of those hours are doing something that you really love, right?
Yeah.
It's the stuff that's draining that you can only do about like 3 hours a day.
I think in my experience as a projector, the way that I have the amazing opportunity to be able to create my own business based on what I need. And the thing that I've begun to understand is that the best way to use, because I do create energy just from different places. There are other motor centers in the chart that create energy in an inconsistent way. So essentially, like, for instance, I have a defined emotional center. So I create energy with my emotional wave, which means that when I am in an emotional creative place, so if I can ride that wave and not burn myself out from it, I do better. So recently, because previously I was doing like 90-minute coaching calls, and by the end of them, it didn't matter how much I loved what I was doing. I was absolutely exhausted. But I've started doing, instead of that, I'm doing workshops and doing 15-minute consultation calls before the workshop. So the amount of one-on-one time that I'm giving to all of the people who come into my coaching world is much less. And when I do these 15-minute calls, I can be totally on, totally there, and totally present for the whole time, and then not feel exhausted afterwards, which is an absolute win for me, because I can do 4 or 5 of those 15-minute calls and have like 45-minute periods in between them and not be exhausted by the end of my day. Whereas I used to do one 90-minute client and that was it. Like, I'd be like, I can't can't do anymore. So it's interesting because as a projector, you do start to figure out what is important for you and like what is rest for you, what is rejuvenation, and what is work. Because sometimes it's not necessarily about whether you enjoy what you're doing. It's a matter of how much you are being affected by it. Like if you're around someone who has a defined sacral center, you're absorbing that sacral energy. So if I have a session with a projector, I'm going to have less of that. I'm going to be absorbing less sacral energy, and I'm not going to be as exhausted when I leave that space. So it depends.
So this session, Kevin, with me and you as two manifesting generators, Kayla's going to be exhausted by the time we're done.
I'm going to be tired. But see, it's so interesting because what that means is that right now I'm using your energy. Right now I am literally using your energy in order to be able to function, because I tell you, this has been an intense day. I spent the morning moving out of one place. I just moved into a new place. I just set up this whole thing. When I got here, I was tired. And then as soon as we started talking, a wave hit me and I feel like I could stay here forever. But as soon as I leave, I'm going to have to go and decompress and probably take a very long nap.
Well, you know, the other thing that you said that I think it's based upon the chart and based upon what your belief structure is based upon the chart is that you said that you have the ability to create a business model in whatever you choose to do. Now, is that coming from the chart and your belief structure of where that comes from?
So for me, that comes from acknowledging what it is that I need to thrive and building my business around that rather than the other way around. Because so often in our society, we're given a structure and we think we're not allowed to change it. We think, oh, okay, I'm supposed to work from 9 to 5. I have to be on a computer from 9 to 5. I'm not allowed to leave my desk. I'm not allowed to take a walk. I'm not allowed to, my mother works for an insurance company and she literally is timed. Her bathroom breaks are timed. And this baffles me. So rather than coming from a place of this is the way the world wants me to do it, I decided to come from a place from understanding my chart that this is what I need to thrive. How do I fit the things that I need to do to create a business into this thriving atmosphere?
I want to meet the bathroom monitor. Who's the one with the stopwatch that says, okay, you got 45 seconds to tinkle. That's it. That's all you got.
God. It's literally a clock in, clock out. I can't even. I don't know how I can't.
You have to clock in and clock out to go use. That's rather invasive, I would think.
Oh yeah, this is corporate America. This is what corporations do.
I'm so glad I'm out of that. I would not thrive. Now, I got to ask you, because we've been doing this. I could talk to you guys all day, but and stuff. But I want to ask you, because I was told, now according to my chart, you tell me. I was told when I was, I've always been either the boss or I've been independent. And the one time that I was working for somebody and he said to me, you really make a lousy employee. You need to run your own thing. Is that indicative anywhere in my chart?
Yeah, I think it's the fact that you have probably so many defined centers is that you're designed to be a radio transmitter. It's so funny that you're in radio. But you're able to, you have the self-centered open where you're able to kind of feel into other people's identities, but you have your own set opinion, you have your own defined emotions, you have your own drive, right? And so you're not easily conditioned by other people.
I also want to mention that you have gate 31 coming out of your throat. So in the throat center, there's a little the gate there. And that's the gate of leadership or the gate of democracy. So you are a natural born leader. I also noticed that your incarnation cross is the cross of rulership. So it is literally your destiny to lead.
Yeah, and that's what you want too. Your incarnation cross is usually like your deepest desire.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know if that resonates with you, Kevin, but mine is the laws, like I forget, second left angle of the laws or something, where it's like I want to make all the rules. Right? Like yeah.
I thought that was every woman, but maybe that's just me. But
Especially me. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
but
mine is actually unknown. Mine is the right angle cross of the unknown.
That's
why
perfect.
I'm gallivanting across Southern California.
I want to just mention the fact that tell you a real quick story. When I was just going into management, and they wanted me to become an assistant manager at the DoubleTree where I was working in the dining room, and they said, "Well, but we want you to take a test," and it was an aptitude test, and so I took the test, and I came back with. Because I've always considered myself to be somewhat of a leader, somebody that was in front, somebody that could inspire other people to do great things and stuff. And so I took the test, and they came back and they said, well, as a salesperson, you're in the top 50%. And that has actually turned out to be true. I'm not great. I'm not terrific. I'm okay as a salesperson. And then they looked and they said, as far as management goes, and because they ranked the questions by best question, next best question, next best question, she said, we've never had anybody get all the best answers to a quiz before. But you did. And it's like, and it played out in my management career that I enjoy being a leader and imparting a lot of what I have to other people to inspire them to do better than they would otherwise do. And so that played out. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. I also think that because you have that undefined self-center, because you can feel the identities of others, you understand what other people need in order to feel like they belong in a group. As employees, you can understand the way that you need to talk to someone in order to get them to do what you need them to do without them getting upset at you for telling them what to do. And that is a very important skill for a manager to have, because I know we've all had those managers where they just can't figure out how to communicate properly. So they yell at everyone. And then not only does no one want to do what they're telling them to, but everyone is in a bad mood all the time.
And turnover goes up and productivity goes down, and
exactly,
service, and all that kind of stuff. So
exactly.
I really love this, because the first time that you showed this to me, it's like, that's amazing.
I know. I love this so much. It just, I feel like of all, because I used to do astrology readings, and that was like why when I got into this, I actually initially didn't want to do human design. I was like, I've done that before. Like, nah. Finally dove in. So glad that I did. Changed my life. But astrology, I feel like, is so... there's not a lot of places you can go with it, whereas this kind of gives you so many different aspects, and it's not about personality traits. It's about the energy that you have available, and then you get to decide how you're going to use it. So I just find it to be so empowering.
Super empowering. Yeah.
That is so true. So before we run out of time, what are the two centers that are on the side? Like, they look like hips.
Yeah. So the one on the right is the emotional center, and then the one on the left is the splenic center. So they are together. In the traditional human chakra system, there are 7 centers. So these are 2 of the centers that used to be one, the solar plexus, that divided off into 2. And so the one on the right, the emotional center, this is, if you have it defined, you have consistent access to your own emotions. If you have it defined on the left, you have consistent intuition, instincts. Is there one that you prefer to talk about over the other, since we have 5 minutes left?
You pick.
Kayla, you pick.
Let's do the emotional center, because the emotional center also controls authority. So a lot of times the emotions, if you have a defined emotional center, this is the way that you make decisions as well. So essentially having a defined emotional center just means that you have access to the entire gamut of human emotion. You are able to feel all of the things that humans feel. You also have the ability to repress those emotions. And if you do not do the work to process your emotions, then you might be walking around with a giant ball of repressed emotion that anyone with an undefined emotional center is likely to absorb and then suddenly get very angry at you. And you have no idea why they're so angry at you.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the thing too, if you have this defined, which about half the population has this defined, you have what's called an emotional wave, and there are different emotional waves in human design. If you want to know like the specifics about your emotional wave, I recommend doing a reading with me or Kayla or another human design reader. But you are designed to feel your emotions as a wave. So some of your emotions might be in response to the things that happen to you, but also some of your emotions might come up for no reason whatsoever other than you are riding your emotional wave. And sometimes you're on a high in your emotional wave, sometimes you're on a low in your emotional wave. When you are in the either really high or low of your emotional wave, this is not a good time to make decisions in your life.
Yes.
You want to be emotionally grounded when you make decisions if you have a defined emotional center.
Yeah.
If
And
you
a lot of
go ahead, Kayla. Sorry.
And a lot of times, the most important thing when making a decision is to actively process the emotions surrounding it. So, like for instance, if you're trying to decide whether or not you want to buy a car, the things you need to process are the money, what kind of car, all of these different things. But if you are just looking at the money as a number and not acknowledging that you're dealing with some serious scarcity and you're dealing with some serious emotion underneath that concept of money, then you might be more likely to say buy a really, really cheap car that you end up having to get rid of in a year and a half because it breaks down on you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So making sure that you're taking the time to process those emotions, because if you had taken the time to say, oh, okay, I'm worried about this because I'm dealing with scarcity and I need to figure out what's actually important to me before I make this decision, you may have decided to, get a car with a longer lease or something so that you could still make the payments, but you were getting a vehicle that was actually going to last. So it's important to process your emotions actively so that you are doing things that are best for you.
Yeah. People who have this defined, it's usually a good rule of thumb to wait 24 hours to 7 days before making a big decision.
Yeah.
Just so you can run through your different emotions and process it, like Kayla was saying.
Yeah.
That's hard for me. I when I want to make a decision, I make a decision. And sometimes that's not always true. But we're going to run out of time. But I want to make sure we get your information out. If somebody would like to work with either of you, now the beautiful thing is you're all the way across the country from one another, so we'll split it at the Mississippi. And
well, also we do different things. So
we
have different skills and different
Yeah.
strengths and different human design charts. So
yeah, exactly. And we also find that we tend to work with different kinds of people. It's funny, Alyssa was saying that she often works with projectors and I often work with generators. So different people will be called to us for different reasons.
Right.
So if somebody wants to contact you, how do they do it, Kayla?
So you can go to my website, which right now is kaylacare.liveeditaurora.com, but soon to be kayla-care.com very soon. So.
And Alyssa?
So I'm at www.alyssahawn.com, just my name, very simple. And I work predominantly with people who have serious health issues who don't really know where to start or what to do. They've been to every doctor and just aren't sure about what to do. And I help them with not only their physical health, but also their mental and spiritual health too.
Yeah,
they're all intertwined.
I should probably of human design coach. And I also host workshops, and I have an upcoming group program where we're utilizing yoga nidra, which is a meditation technique that helps to reprogram your brain. So I've been working to bring yoga nidra and human design together to help you to reprogram your limiting beliefs.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you about that, is it the same way?
Same way. Or you can, do that.
We'll do it again. Say it again.
It's Kayla Care. So Kayla Care with a C, .liveeditaurora.com. Or you can follow me on Instagram. That's _Kayla_Mason.
Yep.
That's
And I'm
probably your
at
best bet.
Alyssa Hawn. Yeah, I'm at Alyssa Hawn Health too. So you can follow both of us.
Yes.
So we have only got through half of this. You guys make a great tag team, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. We love it. I enjoy this very much.
Yeah. We're dear friends. Actually, Kayla was the one who, one of the, you know how the universe gives you signs to like follow certain things, like human design was coming into my field a lot. And Kayla mentioned it one day and I was just like, all right, I got to learn more about this thing. Right. And so
absolutely. And I feel like initially it was interesting because Alyssa started learning about human design, and it was a moment of like, oh, but you're the one who does human design. And then we had a conversation about it. And it's just this moment of, I fully believe that there are barely enough coaches for all of the people who need coaching. So the concept of us being in competition for absolutely anything makes no sense to me. People are going to come to me. People are going to come to Alyssa. People are going to go to whoever they need to based on what they need and what the universe is calling them to. And I feel I've had numerous coaches throughout my life, and I will probably have more. So I love our relationship, and I love doing this kind of thing.
Love you, Kayla.
I love you.
Oh, now come on. And you're right. Everybody needs a good coach. My favorite story is I have a good friend of mine that is a financial planner, and he works with only people with a portfolio of over $1 million. And I mean, it's like hoity-toity. That's a big deal. And he has a coach. He has a financial coach. And I asked him one time, you make $250,000 a year and you work with really rich people. Why do you need a financial coach? And he said, because I have blind spots. Everybody does. And you need a different attitude and a different way of looking at it. And so really, honestly, everybody needs a coach. I am fortunate in the fact that I get to talk to some of the greatest people on the planet on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, we haven't finished the chart yet. Would you guys come back so that we can finish the chart?
Yeah,
absolutely. No question.
We have a lot more to do. We have, I think, 5 centers that we didn't cover.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. Well, I love the two of you. The energy that the two of you have, not only that you care for each other, but also the energy that you have for humanity is really amazing. And that's really is the direction that Positive Talk Radio is going to go, is working with people like you to help other people recognize that they can do so much more with their life. Yes.
100%.
Yep.
So I really appreciate you guys. So we're going to take in the next minute or two, and we'll go alphabetically today. And Alyssa, take a moment or two to tell our audience anything that you would like them to know.
Oh gosh, I guess one thing I was thinking when Kayla was talking about the human, both of us doing human design, like, and there's this like fear and scarcity mindset that, oh, she could be taking my clients. But the thing is, when I rise, you rise. When we all raise our vibration, everybody benefits. So when you doing the self-work on yourself, everybody around you is going to improve. And I see this everywhere all the time. And I started by seeing it in myself and seeing that when I approached, for example, like my ex-husband with love and compassion, he met me there. And it was beyond anything I ever anticipated, right? And I just did the work myself. I held him to no expectation. So you can do this yourself.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I love that.
So Kayla?
So inspiring.
Kayla, tell us anything that you would like us to know.
This is something that just occurred to me, and I thought about it the other day, but I just kind of want to voice the concept. I think so often we get caught in what can't I do, in what are the things that are holding me back, in why can't I have the things that I want? How does my life need to be different in order for me to be happy? And I just kind of want to put out the concept that literally anything is possible. And if you want something and you want to create a certain kind of energy in the world, chances are it's part of your design to create that space, because you're only going to want to do the things that you are being called to do. So if you're doing something and you're feeling like you're getting stopped up and you're just not reaching the place you want to go, maybe it's not what you're trying to do. Maybe it's how you're trying to get there. So anything is possible as long as you begin to understand that there are 1,000 different ways to get there. It's not just one.
And if you have a passion for something and you, for whatever reason, it's not successful the first time, don't give up your passion. If you really believe in something, continue doing it. I started this in 2003 and I'm still doing it today. And I get the opportunity to meet some of the most marvelous people on the planet. And that's my passion now, is to bring people like you to everybody else so that we can all learn together about a better way of being.
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
It's
we
the
love your
twin
mission,
effect.
Kevin. We love it.
We do. Oh, it's our favorite. Honestly, I love your mission.
Well, when we start this, we're going to do something called Positive Talk Live in the new year, and I want you two to be part of it. And it's going to be a virtual event where we're going to invite people like you and then everybody else to come and create a community around what you're doing and to help each other live life just a little bit better.
Beautiful.
I love that. I'd love to be there. This sounds great.
So, and I appreciate the heck out of you guys, and I learned so much from you, and it's so nice for you to want to come back and to do this, but this is important work that you're doing, and I really appreciate you both.
Thank you, Kevin. We appreciate you.
We appreciate you. Yeah.
Well, thank you because that chart, I'm telling you, we haven't got to the good part yet, and I believe that it's. That I'm going to have an epiphany about myself.
Amazing.
Perhaps. And it's always good. It's always good. So I want to thank both of you. Alyssa, your information one more time, please.
Yep, www.alyssahawn.com. Hawn as in Goldie Hawn, no relation. And then you can follow me on Instagram at Alyssa Hawn Health.
And I understand that she's a pretty smart cookie too, but she's got nothing on you. And Kayla?
So the best place to go is to follow me on Instagram. I am _ Kayla, Kayla _ Mason. That's Mason, like the stoneworker.
And if you want to go, that's a unique way of putting that. If you would like to go review this on YouTube, it is going to, as soon as we get done, it'll be up on YouTube and Facebook, and you can go right there to Positive Talk Radio on Facebook or YouTube, and you can watch this in its entirety. And in a day or two, it's going to be up on positivetalkradio.net. And then that goes all over the place. So this is good stuff, and I thank you both for being here.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
And I know I could talk to you for another hour, but I'm sure you've got better things you got to go do. So
I'm gonna go take a nap. I gotta go bring out my Undefined Sacral Center.
I'm gonna go make dinner. I'm gonna go use my creative life force energy in the kitchen.
Yes.
And by the way, but there's somebody that's in our audience that's asking, how's your boy?
My son? He's good. He's asking why a lot lately. Oh, and I got to tell this story really quick because it was so cute. His dad told me, so he's doesn't do dairy, right? So we get him dairy-free ice cream sometimes. And his dad asked him what flavor he wanted. And he said, gluten-free. Isn't that the best?
You have
Oh,
Like, that's my son. That's the health coach's son
Yeah.
right there.
how old is
your
he now?
pictures of him with his green smoothies.
Yeah, I know. He's 2.5. He's 2.5.
And he's a projector. He's a little projector
He's a
baby.
projector. Yep, just like Kayla.
He is. It's a beautiful age, being 2.5, and I, I'll return to that shortly. By the way,
Well, thank you for asking. Whoever asked, that was very sweet.
well, the interesting thing is, and if you look on my chart, part of my gift is that I can empathically guess what somebody is asking before they ask it, and that's why I generally ask good questions. And I was told that one of the people that worked with me said, why is it that every time you're interviewing somebody and a question will pop into my mind and then you'll ask them that question? It's because the information doesn't come from me. It comes from the other side. So I want to thank both of you for being here. It's been just an absolute joy.
Yeah.
And do enjoy the rest of your Labor Day. For one of you, it's almost over. For the other one, it's time for a nap.
I've got a little time.
Thank you, ladies. And stay right where you are, and I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we got.